Richard Engel got rare access into how these variants are being tracked as they spread around the world.
COVID is ravaging Brazil. Hospitals running out of oxygen. Deaths rising because of new COVID mutations. Today, the UK, already struggling with its own highly contagious variant, banned nearly all travel from South America. I went to the UK's main sequencing lab near Cambridge, leading the world in hunting for variants. Robots here select COVID-positive tests gathered nationwide. The virus is fed into machines that reveal its genetic code and if the code has changed with a mutation. Dr. Naomi Park manages operations.
How often when you run these sequences do you find anomalies?
It's just a normal part of evolution. But I guess variants that come up which become more alarming are really quite rare.
Are Americans looking for variants and mutations closely enough?
I'd say no. It's not nearly sufficient to be able to be doing the real-time surveillance and monitoring of these variants as they arise.
So Americans might not know the real kind of variants that they're facing.
No, it might be they only realise once they see the effects of it, and that is certainly too late.
The variants identified so far do not appear to be more deadly, but since they are more transmissible, overwhelming hospitals and causing more deaths. Richard Engel, NBC News, Cambridge.
With all that, President-elect Joe Biden laid out his blueprint for scaling up the vaccine effort. With more on that, here's NBC's Jeff Bennett.
Tonight, President-elect Joe Biden unveiling his action plan to pick up the pace of COVID vaccinations.
This is a time to set big goals, to pursue them with courage and conviction, because the health of the nation is literally at stake.
His plan encourages states to allow more people to get vaccinated, including those aged 65 and older and frontline workers. Boosts vaccine supply by releasing the majority of available doses. Sets up federally funded mass vaccination sites. Sends mobile units to hard-to-reach parts of the country and calls for closer coordination with state governments.
You have my word, and we will manage the hell out of this operation.
To pay for it, the president-elect is calling on Congress to pass his nearly $2 trillion coronavirus relief plan, which includes direct aid for struggling American families and businesses. Biden tonight announcing he'll issue an executive order requiring everyone to wear masks in places where he has the authority to mandate it. The president-elect is also urging patience, warning Americans the way out of the pandemic won't be easy or fast. Lester?
Jeff Bennett tonight, thank you. Just 5 days before the inauguration, a massive show of force in Washington is getting even bigger, with 25,000 National Guard troops now expected. Here's Tom Costello.
Across Washington, security is growing tighter by the hour. Restricted zones, razor wire topping perimeter fencing. The National Guard increasing troop levels to 25,000, weapons at the ready. As dozens of state capitals also beef up security amid intelligence that right-wing extremists are threatening more attacks.
There's a great deal of very concerning chatter, and it's what you don't know that we are preparing for.
Today, disturbing details in charging documents against Jacob Chansley, part of the mob that attacked the Capitol. The prosecutor in Arizona said there's evidence that the intent of the Capitol rioters was to capture and assassinate elected officials in the United States government. Chansley's attorney says he was following Trump's directions and will seek a presidential pardon. Despite guns, explosives, and zip ties, the U.S. attorney in D.C. says there is no direct evidence yet of kill or capture teams. Today, the Washington Post reports attackers were within seconds of reaching Vice President Pence before Secret Service agents hit him in a nearby office. Capitol Police and the FBI tell NBC News they are investigating whether Republican members of Congress aided the mob.
If they aided and abetted the crime, there may have to be actions taken beyond the Congress and in terms of prosecution for that.
Also tonight, the D.C. police officers who fought for their lives last week are speaking out. Officer Daniel Hodges crushed in the doorway.
They ripped my mask off, stole my equipment, beat me up. sprayed me with everything. Thankfully I was able to get out before any permanent damage was done.
Officer Mike Fanone screamed to the crowd he had children.
Guys were trying to grab my gun, and they were chanting, like, kill him with his own gun.
Also tonight, the Secret Service and the Park Service are closing the National Mall, the first time ever for an inauguration. D.C.'s mayor is encouraging people to stay home and watch it all on TV. Lester?
Yeah, those accounts of those officers simply awful. Tom, thank you. The number of arrests in last week's attack is growing quickly. The FBI now seeking tips with billboards around the country. NBC's Pete Williams joins us. Pete, what's the latest?
In the coal mine, an outbreak in a popular vacation destination. 469 state residents infected, largely by Delta. And most of those testing positive, fully vaccinated. The cluster of COVID cases in Provincetown, Massachusetts is now driving new guidance from the CDC.
74% of the overall cases are among fully vaccinated individuals. And I think that came as a surprise to many folks that, we were told that if you're vaccinated, you're most invincible. And I think many people wrongly assume that.
Local officials say there have been at least 882 cases linked to this cluster overall. The research showing infected people who had been vaccinated held a similar amount of the virus, also known as viral load, as those who were unvaccinated, shedding light on the agency's decision to issue new mask guidance, recommending most fully vaccinated Americans wear masks indoors.
Unmasking indoors for fully vaccinated people is no longer a safe choice, especially if you have people at home like kids or elderly parents who are higher risk or who are unvaccinated themselves.
The study comes after leaked internal documents showed the virus could spread faster and to more people.
We have to get more people vaccinated because this virus is better at its job than the original.
The cluster highlighting the importance of getting vaccinated. Among that Provincetown group, no deaths and only 4 instances of hospitalizations, 2 of which had previous health conditions.
This Delta variant is, yes, highly transmissible, more contagious, more likely to have a breakthrough infection, but it's not likely you're going to be hospitalized, and you're certainly not going to die.